Hey Facebook, how are you doing today? I was so it's 5:30 almost here on the West Coast, and some things are on my mind, and so I figured I would jump in and talk about them today before I head out for the day. If you've been watching the news, you have noticed that the MGM had a huge cyber attack this week, and it's been a big cluster to say the least. What's fascinating is I just found an article from the New York Post, and it says that the MGM studio, the MGM hotel that had the cyber attack, could be losing up to $8.4 million a day. That is a staggering number. That that is just absolutely insane when you think about a business that every day that it's down, it's losing it's losing 8.4 million. So you look at it, just doing the math, if I get, as one of my friends calls it, my supercomputer out, and I take my calculator and I, calculate 8.4 million, right? Uh, and you say they've been down close to 8 days now. Uh, they are they've lost close to 67 million just in the time that they've been just closed. That's not the cost to remediate. That's not the cost to hire a company to recover and get their issues fixed. That is literally just what they're losing in business every single day. So far, 60. So when I say 67 million that they've lost, and every single day that they keep uh, losing money, it's just money that they're not making, so that they can pay for what it's going to cost. It'd be interesting to see how much the remediation cost in the long term. And the reason why I bring this up, I realize that most of us don't own MGM size businesses. We at Truett are far from that size of a business, but I think it does teach us something that we really have to be thinking about. And so I wanted to just take a little bit of time today and talk a little bit about what does this MGM attack tell us as a small business. So the first thing is that downtime can cost you as much as remediation cost. So what that means is that if you have a dental office, or you have a medical, or you have a factory, or you have some kind of business that depends on its computers and its operation in order to stay up, it means that you could lose as much money just in loss of business as you would lose in the other things that you have to spend when you have a cyber attack. That means that you could be spending your, $300,000 to remediate, depending on your size of business, and you could be easily losing that depending on how much money you bring in every day, just by that one attack. You can quite literally lose just as much money from customers not paying you as you would otherwise. And I think what's misleading is we see a lot of these businesses, and we see these big news articles, and it's MGMs. There was another casino in the area that was also attacked, and we just assume that because uh, these big companies are showing up in the news, that they're the only ones that are being attacked. And what we're finding is, we look at research statistically, that's inaccurate. Statistically, 58% of cybersecurity attacks are small business. So that means that you're only seeing, almost only 40%, or even less than that. You're seeing only the most popular companies, the biggest companies, when you look at the news, and that doesn't even remotely account for the the cyber attacks are actually happening. They're actually mostly companies like our size. There are companies that are like your size. There, some of them that we run across are small 5-person, operations, and they wrote a check for $30,000 because they fell for a email scam or something like that. And so we really have to be thinking about how cybersecurity attacks have changed over the last several years. And the new reality is that cybersecurity is just not as easy as virus protection anymore. It used to be that we had this really good warm feeling if we had a really cool antivirus, like Malwarebytes or Norton antivirus or whatever that is, and we'd feel really good about ourselves and feel really secure. But the reality is, if you have a business and you have particularly employees, that's simply not the case anymore. And you really have to be thinking about what other things need to be in place. So, are your employees trained not to click on a scam? Are they trained to know what those scams look like? Are they trained to make phone calls for when somebody wants to change the billing information? Do you have filtering on your email so these emails don't even get to your customers? There's a bunch of other things that are in place now. We as a company employ, or rather deploy, 24-hour monitoring. We actually have a security team that monitors our systems. So there's a lot more. Antivirus is not the thing that will save your company. In fact, really, when we look at it, most scams today are human intervention. They're not somebody just hacking into a machine, or they're not always just you clicking on a link. Sometimes they're just an email and a correspondence that goes back and forth, and it's a conversation that happens with a scammer that someone falls for and sends banking information, or they improperly don't follow a procedure that costs the company a lot of money. And then sometimes they click on a link that allows somebody to get into their systems or into their email, and you have an actual attack that happens to the email system. And you think about how much we have stored in the cloud right now. There's this myth that I hear quite a bit. Well, all my stuff's in the cloud. I don't have to worry about being hacked anymore. And just the reality is that most of us are not looking at the primary place in which cyber attacks happen. We don't really look at email as much as we should. We don't look at Office 365, which is the primary place that we have data stored, email happening. We're not looking at how do we protect those. And so when somebody has an email compromise, it doesn't just compromise email in a lot of cases, it compromises the rest of the data that's following there. So, we need to be thinking about how can we be taking steps uh, to protect our business, and what are the things that we need to be doing. And fortunately, I have the answer to your question if you're asking that question. We have a webinar coming up this next week, and it's actually this week. It's on Thursday, and I'm gonna tag the show notes. In fact, if you look on the Truett Facebook page, which is probably where you're watching this, or on LinkedIn, or any of these avenues that you're watching this, you should see about an hour ago a post to our webinar that's this week. And I'd recommend that you just come in and join us. It's free, it's only just an hour, and it will give you, if you're a business owner, just really good steps that you can take to protect your business. We also have some really cool information that if you're local to us, which most of you are, either in Spokane or Olympia, we've got a really cool pamphlet that we're giving out that can help you with your small business cybersecurity. If you're a small shop, particularly, this will help you a lot. So, all that to say this: you see all these companies in the news, and you think, well, it's not going to happen to me because I'm not that big. No one really cares about my small business. And the reality is that's true. No one really cares about your small business from the cyber hacker point of view. But they're basically just sending out a blasted email They're just basically an email marketing company, and the way that they are attacking people is just by sheer numbers, and you just happen to be on the list. And so you have to figure out, how are you going to protect your business? How are you going to mitigate the risk of having employees that you can't necessarily control their behavior? And what are you going to do to keep your business safe? Because it's only getting crazier. It's only getting more expensive to get insurance. It's only getting more expensive to live in general, right? Like, we're seeing that just play out. So my encouragement to you would be, if you own a business and you don't have anything in place right now, I would just ask that you reach out, and you can do a free assessment with us, and we'll actually sit down with you and walk you through just a 30 minute consultation, 45-minute consultation, to at least set you the right direction and help you figure out what your next steps might be based on where you're at. So with that, I'm going to leave it there for today. And if you have some questions about cybersecurity, or you have some questions about technology in general, especially when it relates to all of the news that you're seeing, please put them in the comments below, and I will make sure that I get those answered in some new live events that we're going to have, and some of these live posts that we do. And then if you have questions, definitely send a message over to me. I posted something a couple days ago, and maybe actually a little longer than that. It was a week, maybe it's actually almost 2 weeks ago, about a meeting I had with the Seattle FBI. And that was a really fascinating meeting. I learned a lot by talking to them about what qualifies as a cyber attack that that they'll actually deal with. And it was super interesting to know that it's not financial. So a lot of people think that, well, if I have a really small attack that doesn't cost me very much, the FBI doesn't care about it and they're not going to do anything. And that's actually a myth. And what we're finding out is that it really depends on where the crime was committed. So if it was committed here in Washington, and the servers that it happened on exist in a different state, or the people who are doing the attack are in a different state, that automatically fits into the FBI, but before it even fits into local jurisdiction. So there's things like that that you should know, and that you should report everything that happens. If you have any cyber attack, big or small, you should report it to the FBI, and they actually have a place that you can report it, and it's called IC3, which is their complaint line. And I'm actually going to put that up here um, on the screen for you, so you can see it real quick. Um, but if you go to this link, you can just go to ic3.gov, and that is where you can actually report a cyber crime to the FBI. And it literally, there can be anything from business email compromises to, if you know somebody who's elderly who had a fraud thing happen to them, you can report it there. Ransomware, any other type of cybersecurity crime, this is the place that you want to report it. What we found in an article I read recently, cyber crime has cost us much more this year in 2023 than it has in all the past years, but the reporting has dramatically decreased. So we know that number's climbing, and we know that there's more victims than there were before, but the FBI is saying that they're not getting as many people reporting. And the only way for them to catch criminals and prosecute is when they can collect data. And the only way they can do that is if you report it. So take down this website, ic3.gov, and that can be used to report cybersecurity attacks. Again, in the show notes, in the comments, leave a comment if you have a question about any of these news articles that you see about cybersecurity. For those of you who just joined us, we're talking about the MGM attack, and ask some questions. I want to be here as a resource. And as you saw in another recent post that I made, We really genuinely just care about helping people and getting you the information you need just to make really good, sound business decisions. So, with that, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching, and we will talk to you soon.